Awesome. Can you all hear me way in the back? It is an incredible honor and pleasure to be here, and I realize that how many of you, be honest, have never met me? Raise your hand. Okay, it's got to be over half the people. So I definitely want to take a moment and just tell you a little bit about me. Who is this guy that's the new director? Like Max alluded to, I've been with Parks since March of 2011. So not even a year, right? 10 months, and I came in from Parks as an asset manager. But I wasn't just born yesterday. Actually, I was born today. But I'll just tell you, 54 years ago. So now you know how old I am. I am a husband. My wife is Vicky. We've been married for 33 years. That is a testimony to her and not to me. Lived in Portland. And I have two. I mean, if I have a microphone and I get an opportunity to talk about my two amazing daughters, I wish I would have thought of, putting something up on the screen. I have two daughters, Brooke, who is, as we speak, she FaceTimed me this morning at 5:30 in Rwanda. She works for an aid agency that's based in Portland that helps Rwandan genocide victims. She's in Rwanda today, and she showed me some of the kids that she's working with this morning. My other daughter is named Marin. She lives in Eugene. She works for a church in Eugene. Now, the exciting thing about Brooke and Marin is I grew up in Southern California, so for some unknown reason, I grew up as a fan of the University of Southern California. As a matter of fact, what's your name back there? Fernando, okay. I'm gonna come back to you, Fernando. My earliest sports memory, 1968, the Rose Bowl in 1968, and I saw this amazing guy, O.J. Simpson, win the Rose Bowl and do an amazing job. That's my earliest sports memory. And then I moved to Oregon, and I started sending large sums of money to the University of Oregon. And since I went to a school in California called Cal Poly Pomona that didn't even have a football program, I explained to my wife that, really, to be a good dad, I would really it would be a good thing to buy football tickets, season tickets. And so for the past 9 years, because both of my daughters graduated there, I have been a Duck fan. And I have to say this morning, I have never seen Alex Salazar look so good as he does today. Come on, Alex. Come on. Doesn't Alex look awesome in that Duck football shirt? I understand that Alex lost a bet, and I hope that streak continues for Alex. One of my greatest football memories was it was called Fright Night at Autzen Stadium a year ago, October 31st, where the Ducks totally dismantled USC. So that was awesome. I know there was a little problem this year, or actually 2 years ago was October 31st. I've lived in Portland for 26 years, actually almost my entire career. I'm a landscape architect, and when I moved here in 1985, working for a consulting firm, one of the very first projects I was given was a master plan for Willamette Park. And I'm glad to say that, 26 years ago, we solved all the problems in Willamette Park, and it's just doing wonderfully now. It goes around, doesn't it? I'm involved in a faith community here in Portland. That's a big part of my after work life. I for many years owned a business. So I've run a business for 12 years, not a big business, 20 employees, a landscape architecture firm in town. And that was really a tremendous experience. Matter of fact, I can't ever figure out in my career what I want to do. I work for the Forest Service, so I've worked on the federal side. I came to Portland, worked in the private side, went to the federal side, went back to the private side, owned my own business on the private, and then came back to municipal government. And I got to tell you, when the commissioner told me back in October that I'd been selected as the next director of Portland Parks and Recreation, I said, my goodness, I'm done. As long as I can keep myself from getting fired, this is what I want to do the rest of my life, right here with all of you. Because as that video shows, what we do is incredibly important. What you do, what you did to bring that gold medal home for years and years and years without any recognition. Finally, I hope everybody gets a chance to see this and touch it and connect what you do on a daily basis to that gold medal. The selection as the director is one of the most humbling things ever, and it comes from the more I learned about the job and the more I studied the history of Portland Parks and Rec, the more I was just amazed at what we've accomplished. Not just in the past few years, though that's been amazing, but in the decades that have preceded us. It is totally trite, but it's true, that what we do is stand on the shoulders of the folks that went before us. And I don't just mean the staff of the Portland Parks. I mean the citizens. We are part of an incredible legacy. 86% customer approval in the survey. That's been going on for years and decades and over 100 years. Folks in Portland love their parks, and they love you. Well, okay, so that's a little bit about who am I. But I want to been thinking a bit about who are we. Because I've heard Portland Parks and Recreation described as a family. And that's probably true. We're a very diverse family in lots of different ways. I just look around, and first of all, I want to just thank you all for coming today. This is not an easy time to come to a big celebration, but you got to get together with your friends, your co-workers, and maybe hopefully you will all meet at least one or two people that you had no idea even existed. This is a great family. One of the reasons that we're a great family is that we have a shared purpose. And I want to kind of just remind us of what that is. And that was stated in the 2020 vision. And this is what all of us are working towards. Portland parks, public places, natural areas, and recreational opportunities give life and beauty to our city. These essential assets connect people to place, to self, and to others. And Portland residents will treasure and care for this legacy, building on the past to provide for future generations. Because we share that sort of mission statement, another analogy, I talked about a family, but another analogy to think of when you think of all of us together is actually a body made up of many parts. So for a body to function properly, it takes a huge variety of parts and processes and systems. Some of you that provide recreation programs at community centers are like the fingers because you touch the community most directly. Others of you might be like the feet, serving to give all of us kind of a firm foundation that we can stand on. Others of you are like our eyes, looking out for what are the new trends or what are the new opportunities, and in some cases, what are the new threats that we need to be careful about. Lately, I've been feeling a little bit like a hip replacement that I underwent in November and December. That's one of the reasons I was out. Well, it's a primary reason. Couple of, when you get to a certain age, you find that things are breaking down at a fast rate, and so I feel great now. But there's two things I want you to keep in mind about this analogy, about all of us being part of a body. First of all, I mentioned it before, we're all working together towards this common mission. And another way that was stated in the 2020 vision was to sustain a healthy park system to make Portland a great place to live, work, and play. So whether you're, here at UPCC, or you work in aquatics, or you're a facility maintenance tech, or you work in planning or equipment, it really makes no difference. You're part of that goal, that mission, and you're doing your part. And that brings us to the second thing. We serve the public in extraordinary ways, some of which they recognize, and many of them they don't. And that's one of the purposes of this gathering today. Some of the things you do are recognized by the public, but some of the things you do are only recognized by us, by each other, by the other parts of the body. So it's really great that you took the time out of your day to be here. The other thing I want you to remember that is, if we're part of this one sort of system and one body, this is what I want to leave you with. We need each other. We need each other. You need the person that's sitting next to you, but you need the person that's 3 tables away that you don't even know. Some of the people in this room, I mentioned we have a diversity. We are very different. We may be different from our backgrounds, we may be different racially, what we're interested in, all of that. But we work together. I gotta tell you, that video, when I think I was on the job a week or 2 weeks or something, and I got to go to Atlanta with a group of people to accept this award, and I felt, man, I had nothing to do with it. But I talked to the chief juror, the woman who was overseeing all of the selection. She said she had never seen a video like that before. Of all the years that they'd been doing this, Portland's video stood out head and shoulders above everything else. And I want us, let's give particularly obviously you provided the content. But where's Allie? Allie Ryan, where are you? Stand up, Allie, please. Allie, and I know many of you were involved. We'll talk about that later. But Allie did an amazing job. And a local Portland firm called Uncage the Soul really gets a lot of credit as well, because under a very tight timeline, lousy weather, and a lot of pressure, they produced probably the best video that's ever been submitted to the National Recreation Parks Association. Back to the body. So just like the toes, if you happen to be a toe, needs a circulatory system to accomplish the part of the mission, we have some difficult times coming up. And during difficult times, it's tempting to start thinking about yourself and about your immediate neighbors. But remember, this whole organization is going through these challenges. You need people in this room that you don't know about. Believe it or not, you need your boss. Believe it or not, you need your boss's boss. And your boss's boss and your boss is trying to work with you to figure out, how does this body work together to accomplish the mission under very changing circumstances. The talk that April and Carol gave us was really a good reminder about that. So I would encourage you, whether you work on the 13th floor or you work out in Forest Park, to realize that we are all pulling together for the same thing. There is, as the commissioner said, there is not one of these cuts that anybody is happy about. Challenge is somewhere between $1.7 and $3.5 million worth of cuts are going to be made, and good people are thinking about that. I'm going to have to break down and put on my glasses. I tried a long time to do that. That's a little bit about who I think we are, who I am. So where are we going? I want to talk a little bit about the short term, about the budget itself. I'm going to assume you're aware of the cut packages that are out here. If you're not, go to portlandparks.org, and under what's new, you'll see, click on the budget comment form, and then there's a thing called recommendations, and then you'll have the spreadsheet and all of the narratives and all the descriptions. And I've been listening to many of you, both directly, because as the commissioner said, we're getting a lot of comments and emails, but also for the folks that were on the Budget Advisory Committee. This year, the Budget Advisory Committee consisted of the Parks Board and your union reps. So Scott Gibson, Tim Haberman, and Jerry Verhoff. I'd like to give a special thanks to those three, because I gotta tell you, you don't want to be in their shoes. Can you imagine sitting through budget discussions and knowing that they are representing you in some very difficult discussions and calculations? So let's give the three of those a big hand. Key things I've heard from you, though, as you kind of, and from Scott, Tim, and Jerry. These are things that have come out since the budget recommendations came from the advisory committee to Commissioner Fish and myself. First of all, look at ways to reduce management administration, reduce seasonals as well as permanent employees, keep sun schools in Portland Parks and Recreation, and too many represented employees are being impacted. Commissioner Fish and I have heard you. Stay tuned for more details. We're still crunching numbers, even today, crunching numbers about some adjustments to those packages. But I think what you'll see is that the proposed budget that comes from Parks will reflect your input and responds to some of the issues that you raised. I'm sure it won't be everything everybody wants, because there's still going to be packages that equal $1.7 to $3.5 million. But my hope, honestly, is that it demonstrates to you that I'm listening, that the commissioner's listening, and that we care about the issues that you bring forward. That's the short term. I'm willing to tolerate the short term because we're going to get to the long term. We are going to have better days. We are going to be debating not on what things get cut, but what things get added, what services get restored, what added value, what expansion of the system. Those days, I'm telling you, they are coming. And so when I think about long term, here's what I'm interested in. There's no limit to how many times that the city of Portland could win the gold medal, okay? We are a gold medal system. My goal, and I know that your goal, is for all of us to retain that and win that again and be able to explain to the public, this is the best park system in the country. To do that, we're going to need some stable funding, really. And that stable funding is going to help us accomplish what the community says they want us to do. So that's a key priority long term, is new funding mechanisms. I would like us to be recognized as the most environmentally beneficial park system in the United States. I think we can make the case right now through the programs that we have, and we'll talk about a little bit of them during the awards today. We have an amazing park system in an amazing city, and we've got talent at all levels to help us think of innovative new ways of treating our parks and our landscapes in ways that we're ensuring they're going to be healthier for future generations. So I would like us to be recognized for that. Because the landscape is changing funding-wise, we need to be recognized as a great organization to be partners with. So we're going to be spending a lot of time over the next year or two cultivating and building on the partnerships. Everybody that was in the videos, but organizations that don't even exist now. Organizations that some of you may help us establish out in the community. That partnership, that idea of working together, we're not a bureau anymore that's just locked into what we're doing. We have to be engaged with our communities at every level. So partnerships is huge. We have good partnerships, we have stable funding, we're a healthy body. And if we have a healthy body, or we're a stronger family, we have to sustain and encourage each other, knowing from whence we've come. If you've never read the 1903 Olmsted Report, we got hundreds of copies on the 13th floor. Talk to your supervisor and say, hey, how do I get a copy of that? Read it. You'll be amazed. 109 years ago, a couple of people looked at the system and looked at the city of Portland and made some, if I were to pull out some quotes today and read them to you, you'd be amazed. You'd think they were just made yesterday. That's the beginning of what we're building upon. But for the last 100 years, 109 years since then, our citizens have repeatedly made investments in our parks, financial investments, and it's allowed us to grow as the city's grown, and it's going to continue to allow us to maintain what we have, to restore to great condition the facilities we have, and to provide opportunities in parts of town, east of 205, Cully neighborhood, I mean, you know where those are, where we do not have adequate coverage for our citizens. So no matter how difficult these days are for us, most importantly, we have to be positioned for the better days ahead that are coming. The public discussions, as Commissioner Fish mentioned, coming over the next few months, is going to demonstrate how loved you are by our community. And I didn't say how loved our parks are, I said how loved you are. Because that's the feedback that I get continually from citizens. They say, I was at UPCC or I was at this community center and so helped me register and took my kids, and they do an amazing job day after day. It's the people in this room and the people of the Bureau that make our parks great. I spent this summer going to a number of the free-for-all events, and the thing that struck me, and I'm a landscape architect, which means I'm a place person, right? I like design and I like places that I can see and touch. But what struck me was how many people were being, how much community was being built at these summer free-for-all events. Yes, they were happening in parks, but the truly exciting thing was how we were building community. And those of you who work in Hort, or work in turf, or help put up the screen, or bring the food, whatever, you are part of an amazing system that is a key part to why Portland is so community-based. So, please don't despair, all right? As you found yourself on that change continuum, and you have a better idea of where you stand, don't go into depression and stay in depression, right? Because your supervisor, your manager's manager, are working very hard to ensure that we have a foundation that we can build on when things come back. What we don't want to do is tear apart this system and then have to spend the first 2 or 3 years of a rebound patching what we just lost. Many of you don't know me, and I don't know many of you, but I'm loving this. I'm loving an opportunity to get to know all of you. Mike.Abbate, 2 B's, 1 T. If you send me an email and you say, why didn't you respond? It could be because you misspelled it. Happens all the time. But I would love to hear from you. One of the things I just talked to the leadership team about is I want to get out and meet you and meet with work groups. And so if that's something you're interested in, I'm trying to keep my Friday mornings free to go everywhere, anywhere, and talk to you and hear your thoughts and concerns. And again, I'm honored, really am honored to be the director, and my job is to help make you successful. So I really appreciate your time, and let's go forward and let's go upward. All right? Thank you.